Welcome back, party people, to another episode of YouTube Office Hours, where I answer questions that folks leave me in the comment section of my videos, and I answer them as honestly as I possibly can. If you'd like to ask a question, please leave it in the comment section below, and I'll answer it in the next episode. If you're new to the channel, my name is Steve Huynh, Uncle Steve, Meta, or Steve Holt, and I'm an L7 principal engineer. On this channel, I give you all of the advice and information I wish I had when I was coming up. And since you're my buddy, for you, it's free of charge. If you'd like to support the channel, take a gander at my Patreon page. I'd like nothing more than to just make a bunch of free content for everybody to have. And if you support the channel, I can continue on that mission. So without further ado, let's do it. Zhao Nino Matos asks, how about handling all of the consistent little things? I've been doing one thing per day, and that works pretty well generally, but the little consistent things really suffer, the things that are hard to do in one go. In other words, sales calls, pitches, sending emails, etc. And especially work that keeps getting changed requirements by superiors. Well, Joao, what I would say is you want to, as much as you can, group together all of the little things and do everything in batches. If you can do all of your email, the small little errands, filling out all the forms, that kind of stuff. If you sprinkle that out across your day, you'll be doing a ton of context switches. If you're able to do them all at once, then I think that you'll be better off to do all of the things that require focus. Ray asks, with the 2 to 4 hours of focus and avoiding context switching, how do you think something like a pomodoro timer fits into this? Every 25 minutes you take a 5-minute break, but like you said, it takes up to half an hour to really get back into your work. Thanks for the video. Well, thanks, Ray. What I would say is that Pomodoro timers are fine. And when I talk about doing 2 to 4 hours of consistent focus, I'm not saying don't take any breaks. The big thing is to not switch contexts, right? So you're working on one thing and then move to another thing. And you want to make sure that your emotional state is also not affected during your break. So get up, stretch out, get a cup of coffee, right? That's all fine, but don't read email, don't read the news, don't get on Reddit, don't check Twitter. The issue is that if there's something that changes your emotional state, it will immediately require another context switch back as you calm down. So what I'd say is Pomodoro is fine, but what I've actually found is that when I get into a flow state, I want to work well past the 25 minutes. So I don't want to change your system up too much, but if you're really feeling things and you blow by your 25 minutes, that's totally cool. DMT asks, why would you stay for such a long time at Amazon? Isn't jumping around better for faster career progressions? Well, DMT, the big thing is that you can't A/B test your life. I can't really take my life and then, figure out how much I would have earned if I had just stayed at Amazon versus sort of switching around every 2 to 4 years as everybody tells you to do. And so I can't really tell you if I would have been promoted faster or not. I will say that I have been promoted 4 times at Amazon, and the stock price has done pretty well. When I first joined Amazon, the stock price was around $30 per share. And so it's a combination of, am I making the type of progression that I'd like to within my career? Am I getting compensated the way that I should be? And then also, am I growing in the ways that I'd like to grow? If you compare, Steve today versus Steve in 2006, I think that, I've experienced extraordinary growth within that time. I'm pretty happy with the way that things have worked out. And so I don't regret moving around companies every 2 years. I think I've done quite well for myself. Tyler Durden asks, do you think that there's an age which it's no longer worth attempting to learn coding for a future career? I might have a different opinion than everybody else, but I actually don't think that there's a max cutoff time for picking up coding. 2 things. 1, I think that people are living longer and longer lives. And so it's not unheard of to change careers at 50. Right? And so if you want to learn how to code, if that's something that resonates with you, I think just go for it. I don't think there's a maximum age to anything. The second thing I'll say is that for the most part, nobody knows how old you are. I'm 40 years old. If I was working in a different career and then I decided to go into software development, people would probably, if I didn't talk about it, people would probably peg me at about 30 years old or 25 maybe. And so, when you go into a meeting, when you go into an interview, nobody knows exactly how old you are. And, people might be able to figure it out from your resume. But if you actually get hired, if you have the skills, if you're able to get into the company as a junior engineer, when you sit down for a meeting, when you join the team, nobody leads with their age, right? And so, I actually don't think that there's a ceiling for how old you can be to start coding. Nicholas Kraus asks, how do you manage email in Slack? These tools can become a productivity black hole, but I feel guilty just archiving everything and marking everything as read. That's a good question, Nicholas. what I do is that I try to batch all of my email, Slack communication, text messages, anything that's an interrupter to specific parts of the day, right? So, I might check my email in the morning at 8 o'clock and then not check it again until noon and then not check it again until 4 o'clock. So like three major, maybe 3 or 4 major points during the day. And what I found is that very few things are actually urgent and require a response immediately. Most things can be responded to, within 2 hours or within 4 hours with no loss of any sort of productivity. What is a big loss of productivity, and what you've rightly called out, is when you start to sort of fish or surf for something for your attention. I say it a lot, but your undivided attention is the most precious currency in the universe. And what you want to do is make sure that you're spending that attention on things that actually matter. When you check your email because you're a bit bored, or when you, start to look at all of your Slack conversations, what you're doing is you're trying to fish for something to spend your currency on rather than being super intentional about like where you put your attention. So what I'd say is, as much as you can, try to check your email at fixed points during the day, even if it's hourly, right? And it's going to be much better than it currently is. So if you check your email at 10, you check your email at 11, you check your email at 12, you check your Slack at 1, you check your Slack at 2, just making sure that you're checking it, at a regular cadence rather than in random access, right? Or randomly. I think that's going to be much better for your productivity. ML Tamerlin asks, thank you. I have a question. You said 2 to 4 hours a day of focus without interruption, 1 task a day. Do you do 2 to 4 hours of focus on that task and that's it? Or 2 to 4 hours plus more work on the same task that day? That's a good clarifying point. In a day, if you do 2 to 4 hours of focus on one particular task, that's actually enough to have a really large impact and to have head-turning amounts of productivity. Everything else is just gravy on top. Right? So everything else would include emails, Slacks, things that are undifferentiated work, obligations that you have, etc. And so what I'm really saying is like 2 to 4 hours of focus on one task is enough. There may be other obligations within your job, but don't worry about that, right? Try as much as you can to sort of front load all of the work that you have. Rohit Rawat asks, can you tell the common traits that you find newcomers at Amazon lacking in? What I found is that people that join a company, they want to make a contribution before they're ready. And so what I would say is that you should, as much as you can, when you join a new team, when you join a new company, when you join a new product, give yourself enough time to actually understand the context, the organizational dynamics of what's around you, and the concepts that are endemic to your team and to your organization. It's very rare that you'll be able to join a team and immediately make an impact because you just don't understand what's going on around you. So I would say that most people really want to make an impact immediately when they should actually spend a couple of weeks, if not longer than that, sort of taking everything in and really understanding what's around you and what you have. And if you do that before you try to make a really large impact, you'll be in a much better spot rather than being somebody that just joins an organization and then tries to change a bunch of things like immediately. Those folks, it's not that they're dumb, it's not that they're not smart, it's just they don't have enough information to know what to do. All right, Mike Frey asks, I have a position which requires some amount of business as usual maintenance work every single day, and it takes about 3 to 4 hours, but sometimes due to other problems, it can take a whole day. It has to be done in the morning. I also have projects which could be done afterwards. After 4 hours of business as usual tasks, I can't really focus on any project work. I feel mentally tired and I'm making stupid mistakes. I talked with my manager. Any ideas to make my work schedule better? Mick or Mike? What I would say is the 3 to 4 hours of work that you have for business as usual tasks it sounds like undifferentiated work. And so as much as you can, you want to use your time where you're fresh and you're focused to do the work that is actual project work that's going to make an impact, that's going to influence other teams, and is going to ultimately get you promoted. And so what I would say is, if you can somehow do your 2 to 4 hours of focused project work before your obligation, before your 4 hours of business as usual tasks, you'll be using the fresh part of the day, the time when your mind is the most fresh, on the things that actually matter. You should use the 3 to 4 hours when your mind is fresh as much as you can to do your differentiated project work, and that you should use the 3 to 4 hours of undifferentiated work, that's obligation-based work. You should use the part of the day where you're maybe not as fresh, because it sounds like, you know, it might involve some amount of problem solving, but you shouldn't use the most precious part of your day for that. Now, this may be difficult because if the business as usual tasks are in the morning, that may mean that you need to wake up that much earlier to have time to focus on your project work. But that's the reality of your situation. So I'd recommend to use the 2 to 4 hours in the morning where you're your freshest on your focus work, and to try it as much as you can to backload the business as usual work. All right, last question. Seiko asks, how much time do you spend just relaxing, living in the moment with no particular task? That's a really good question. You know, it may sound to you from watching my videos that I don't spend a lot of time on myself, but I actually do. And what I actually do is I'm really regimented during my working hours, right? So during my core working hours, every hour of the day is spoken for. And, you know, I spend my attention on the things that I think actually matter. When the day is over and I close my work computer, that's time for me and my family. And so, you know, I actually cherish quite a bit the unstructured time that I have with my family, where we're just kind of hanging out and eating food and watching TV and being together. And I prioritize that quite a bit. I'm not a taskmaster, nor am I really structured when it comes to my own personal time. I actually think that making sure that it's unstructured and, you know, spending time with the people that I care about, that's really what matters in my life. So I spend a lot of time relaxing and living in the moment. So that's all the questions that I had for you today. If you have a question, go ahead and leave it down in the comment section below. If you'd like to check out my previous office hours, you can find that here. And thanks for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day.